Hello and welcome everyone to this new part of the 15-year-old's Python course. So in this video we are going to learn about what different types of data types are there in Python, and how we will learn about variables, some basic operations and everything. So go to your replit.com, or if you like you can use your own local machine. It doesn't matter. The thing that matters is that you should be able to write Python, whether it's your phone. And there are some great code editors on phone too, believe it or not. So let's make a new repl. I will call it learn data types. Alright. I will create the REPL and let it load. Right, so let it load. Right, so the first thing is that you need to focus here. Okay, so this is the file that you will be working on. You can write stuff in here. Okay, the thing on your this side of the screen is called an interactive shell. Okay, so this thing that you are seeing is this replit is providing you, but normally if you are working on your screen you will see a terminal like this. So in your terminal you will write something like Python. Okay, so if there the Python word is working, but if you are on Mac OS or Linux, you might have to try Python 3, which is working here in both cases. Interesting. Okay, so in here if I do 2 plus 2, okay, it is returning 4. Then if I do 3 divided by 3, it is saying 1.0. That works. But what if I want to access this 4 after this operation is done, or if I don't want to type this 2 plus 2 everywhere? So maybe I hope that you have learned some mathematics and algebra. So in math you would do something like 2 plus 2 equals to x. Okay, or something like that. Yes, this is the same concept as you have maybe learned in mathematics, that you can let something. This is the same concept, but in programming we don't type it like this. Instead we say it like x equals to 2 plus 2. Sorry, 2 plus 2. So now when I write x, what value should I get? Guess it. And it is 4 if we have guessed it correctly. There again. So this is what's called variables. So in many languages, for example in JavaScript or in some other language, you would have to write something what this variable should be, like constant or a variable or a var. If it is an integer, it is going to be int x equals to 2 plus 2, but we don't do that in here in Python. Python automatically guess what the value of it would be. If it is a string, it is gonna do its job in the background. So what if you want to make a constant, okay, that the value of the value instant constant doesn't change? Okay, so you type the name of the constant in capital cases, constant, okay, and we take it equals to 2, right? And then we make another constant with lower cases. We do it 4. Okay, now if I do constant with lower cases equals to 5, Alright, now it should have changed the value of 4 to 5. So now when I type constant in here, it is returning 5. So it means that we have just changed the value inside the constant with 5. But if I try to do constant with capital cases with 5 or 4 or whatever, it will not allow me. If I type that again, it would stay 5, which is interesting because it shouldn't have changed. So you guys all just saw that the value of constant changed, right? But yes, it is indeed a constant, but it is not on the language level. It is just a naming convention that if a name is written in capital cases, it is considered as constant, and you are not supposed to change that value. So it's just a naming convention, not like other languages that you cannot change the value. Here you can change the value of the constant, but it's just a naming convention that developers have came up with it, so that if they create a variable with all capital cases, the other developer should not supposed to change it. All right, and now if you press Ctrl L, it should clear the terminal. Let's talk about this file. Okay, so all you saw that all of the code that I wrote here, it's gone now. Okay, I cannot access it. So what if you want to save the code and run it somewhere else too, or store it for later? Then you use this the main file here. So let's just do a equals to 2 plus 2, right? And then we do print a. It should print out 4, which is indeed 4. All right, so let's talk about data types in Python. So data types in Python, for example, you saw that I created 2 plus 2 here. So what if I want to write Nasir in here? See, or whatever your name is. Alright, so as you can see that I cannot type it like this. Okay, the reason why is, if we type Nasir like this or any text like this, it will be searching for a new variable that you might have listed at the starting of your code. Okay, so it is basically trying to search the variable Nasir, which we don't have. I just want to add the text Nasir in here. So what you have to do is open these speech marks. Alright, and now this tells the Python that this is not a variable, this is just random thing that I wrote and I want to store its value. So in official terms, the things in this quotation marks is called a string. Okay, there are multiple ways of doing strings. If you add double quotes here, you cannot add a single quote here. Okay, see, that is showing an error. You have to use, if you are using double quotes, you have to use a double quote. If you want to use a single quote, you will have to use single quotes on the both end. Alright, so now let's suppose that this word goes very long and it goes into a second line. This will give you an error in most cases. So there is another type of string which is called, in which case you have to use 3 quotation marks. Okay, three of them. So now if you add a space in here and add a space in here, space in here, it doesn't matter, it will register it. Okay, so these are strings. Let's talk about numbers. I will name it as a string. Okay, a string. Now let's talk about numbers. So in general, there are 2 types of numbers. There are numbers with points and a number without the point. So the number without the decimal point is called integer in Python. So that will be an integer or integer, however you wanna pronounce it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 65, 349, these are all integers, okay, because they don't have a point in here. As you saw here, this is an integer because it does not have a point at the ending of it. It doesn't matter if I have a value after points, but the number with points, it's not called an integer. The number without points is called integers. Alright, now let's go to the third point, which the numbers with integers, not integers, points or decimal points. So the number with decimal points are called floats in Python. A float like this, okay, that's why it is giving me a green highlighted color. It is showing that it's a pre-built method, we cannot overwrite it, so I will use floats instead. So a float is a number with a decimal point. For example, 5.5, it is a 5.33, it's a float. Simple. Okay, these are 3 data types in Python. Yeah, this is it. In the next video we will talk about what are lists. Yeah, and the most important thing, just as you saw that I wanted to type something like list and tuples and everything, it was giving me an error. I cannot type something without, I have to tell Python that this line doesn't have anything to do with you, I'm gonna use this line. So you have to tell specifically to Python with this pound sound or hashtags or whatever you wanna call it. So the line starting with this sign will tell Python to ignore it. This is for humans only. This is for humans only, okay. Python doesn't have to do anything with it. Python will not care about this line which have a pound stand in starting. Alright, okay, so these are called comments, okay. These are called comments. This is not a Python specific thing. You will find comments in other languages as well. It's very common to have them in a language. And yes, and let's just say you get a very unknown value, okay, very strange value, and you want to check the type of it in Python, whether it's a string or an integer, a float, okay. So there's a special method in Python. Let's just say we want to print, okay, and here I will type this special method or a function. We will talk about functions later. And here in this type in open parentheses, you will put that value or the variable that is storing that value. So it will be string, okay. Let's just run this line, and it will say a class of str, which means string. Now what if I do print and type of integer, okay, integer. Let's say if it is an integer with int. What if I change this into a float here, 0.53, okay. What should I say? It should say a float. Now let's test it, and it is saying a float indeed. Alright, just out of curiosity, what if I take this string and put it in another variable? What will it say? Let's do something happened in here. Let's just say, why is it not working? Yes, it is working now. So let's just put string 2 with the value of string, okay, and print the type of string 2. Are you guys curious what it will print out? I don't know either. Let's find it out together. Alright, so it said string because indeed if string 2 is a variable, it will not spit out variable in the type of, it will actually print the type of the string, which is indeed a string. I hope that you got to learn about Python on a very basic level, what are its data types, and I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. I will see you guys in the next part. Bye.